Sup, fools?
Hi there.
Tyler, Keith, Sam. It's the end of the year.
Woo.
Let's do it.
Year
We're going to
list.
roll on with our top 10 movies of 2018. 2018 was a fine year for movies. I'd say nowhere as near as good as last year was, in my opinion.
Last year had a lot. I think maybe there was a bit more spectacle this year, but last year just had better movies in general.
Yeah. Agreed. But we came together collectively putting together the top 10 movies of 2018. And of course, this is the movies that we've seen. I haven't seen everything. But I'd say we've seen a good number of good ones. Let's get into it. Number 10. It's Bohemian Rhapsody. I love this movie way more than I thought I was going to. This, of course, chronicles Queen and kind of their rise to fame, but then it's also mostly about Freddie Mercury as well. They do a good job of sticking to how some of the events unfolded. There's some things that they twist a little bit for more of that Hollywood drama.
Hollywood.
Like there's a part where they make it seem like Queen legitimately breaks up, which they never did. You know, they only went on like a hiatus because they were just burnt out. But the movie just makes it seem like fucking they were over.
We're done.
You know, but gosh, I'm forgetting his name. He plays Mr. Robot.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about, but yeah, I forget his name too.
As Freddie Mercury was fantastic.
Rami something.
Yeah,
Malik or
exactly.
Something like that.
Yeah.
He's in Night at the Museum.
He was. He's also in Until Dawn.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he is. Yeah. He was great as Freddie Mercury, and the way it ends, I think, was very good as well. It ends with them doing their whole Live Aid show, which is a very iconic concert. You know,
Yeah.
that a ton of bands got together to raise money and awareness for AIDS, and it was broadcasted to well over 1 million people from Wembley Stadium, and that's kind of where it ends, and the way they recreate that was fucking sweet. The way they did a lot of things was really well done. And I enjoyed it, for sure. Number 9, Tully.
Tully was a movie I wasn't really expecting to. I wasn't expecting to watch it, honestly. It didn't seem like a movie that really appeared on my radar. I know Charlize Theron was in it, so I kind of wanted to see it, because for me, she's kind of been on a roll. Her last few movies have been really good. I thought it was a really good movie, great performances by Charlize, Mackenzie Davis, Ron Livingston was in this.
Oh, okay.
So a pretty small but really good cast. I think it's kind of it has a nice, maybe not like a thriller, but just psychological vibe to it, especially things you find out at the end of the movie. It's a nice twist. I just think they're great performances. It's a great ride to go along, but yeah, there's that sort of one of those things that happen at the end. I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but it's a great movie.
Number 8, Black Panther. Black Panther is fantastic, and very different for a Marvel movie. Mostly all black cast, a different setting, different vibes, different music, and an actual villain that felt justified in what he was going after and trying to do. It wasn't really I'm just going to destroy the world sort of generic guy. He had legitimate motives behind him, which Michael B. Jordan did a great job at doing that. What's his name? Chadwick?
Boseman.
Right? Boseman?
Boseman.
Yeah.
Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah. Related to Phil Boseman, Whitechapel. Fantastic. It's Black Panther. I mean, almost everybody in this movie is great. Denai
Gurira.
Yeah, from The Walking Dead. She's great in it. And it has a lot of great moments and cool fight scenes. I love it.
Yeah, I had it on my list too. I did have it sort of lower than I think people would be expecting, because toward the beginning of the year it was a big movie. It had a lot going for it. I still think it's a really good movie. I think when you have the whole year to sort of reflect on it, I think you kind of look back, and the reason why it's a bit lower than people may expect is because at least for me, I'm looking back and saying, okay, well, this was a great villain, but again, in a Marvel movie, they killed off a really great villain that I think they could have brought back. There's some,
point.
other small things like that I guess when you have the year to sort of reflect on, you think about a bit more. Because you're not just like, oh, when it's the last movie you saw, you're like, oh, it was really good.
Yeah.
But when you have more time. But yeah, I do think some great performances, big sort of new world that they created, which is really nice. They brought a lot of different, like, things that maybe like Iron Man and Captain America didn't have. This movie sort of developed a culture around the superhero and just sort of like made them feel like they were coming from somewhere, not just a guy that has superpowers, but it's like the reason why he's.
Yeah.
And you get to see more of the background, which was nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, this movie was like close to making my list, and I agree with everything. I think what this movie does culturally, like the cultural impact of Black Panther, cannot be stated enough.
Mm-hmm.
I think part of the reason I'll just get this out of the way so I can say more good things. Part of the reason it didn't make it on this is, despite all that of having a lot of great villain, having a lot of great female characters, it does hit a lot of the same regular beats that a Marvel movie does hit. And I think some people were willing to overlook that for the culture thing, which again is not a terrible thing. But it's just I look at it again, kind of like watching, like you were saying, watching it again. I'm like, you start to see some of the bit of the issues that it has, but like I just said, it has great, very great female characters, like Shuri and Okoye are great in the movie. It's a bit more of an ideological battle than most superhero movies, which is a nice reflecting thing. The villain succeeds in changing, Killmonger succeeds in changing T'Challa's mind, and that's awesome. And also he has some of the best lines in any Marvel movie, especially like his like last line, when he's talking about bury me at the sea and whatnot, and I'm like, it's like where it's like like my ancestors, and I'm like, oh, that's a great line, and it's really good movie. So might clean up at the Oscars, maybe. They gave it a bunch of, it's like 12 different categories or something. So
Wow.
Yeah, we'll see.
yeah. Superhero movies don't win Oscars though, but they're pushing for it.
It seems like one of those movies that they would put on there, like, see, we like this kind of movie. It's nominated, but then they're probably not going to give it any awards that it might get.
Yeah. Number 7, A Quiet Place.
I didn't see this one.
Come catch you.
I wanted to, but I didn't. It says Jim from The Office.
Don't love it.
He's still known as Jim from The Office to me.
I mean, yeah. Of course, the big thing about this movie is this movie's sound design, how it uses the quiet to really build tension. I mean, there's really only 2 scenes where there's any sort of spoken dialogue at all, but most of it's done in sign language. One of the one character, Reagan, she's like, they had a deaf actress to play her, which is awesome. She showed like I saw a thing where they showed the actors how to like emote with sign language, how to show like and I'm like, that's pretty cool. But then it's just a cool premise, and instead of doing the thing you would expect with this, which is the big cataclysmic thing, which ends with like some sort of military group going in and fighting the monsters, it's just about a family.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the family dynamic and whatnot is kind of what makes it it makes it great. And Emily Blunt and John Krasinski are both awesome in the movie. Has some of the most badass moments in the movie. It's genuinely scary. I both regret and don't regret seeing it in a theater.
Yeah.
I regret seeing it in a theater because then you can just hear every little noise that somebody makes, but then also just the atmosphere was just
the intensity
cranked up another notch, and it's like, oh, so.
Yeah, this movie's great, and it had a very incredible opening to it.
Yeah.
As well. Without spoiling too much, but the opening kind of really sticks with me a lot. Of like, wow, that was just super well done. But yeah, I'm not gonna say too much more other than that. It's a very intense movie to watch, for sure. Number 6, Incredibles 2.
Listen, I mean, it was a very good movie. No one's denying that. It was action-packed, A lot of really cool things. You get to see more of the same characters that we saw from the first Incredibles. It's a weird movie in the way that it sort of... I think the time in between when you're wanting a sequel so bad is in the same way as like Finding Dory, where it's a really good movie, but you're not blown away in the same way. It doesn't live up to the first one, which is really hard to sometimes get past that and really appreciate it for what it does do, and sort of stop comparing it to the first and sort of get over that anticipation. But when you can do that, it is a really good movie. It's Disney firing on all cylinders as they usually do. I think there were some great moments in this movie. I think there's a bit more comedy, I guess, with Bob or Mr. Incredible sort of being a stay-at-home dad. You get to see the what's his name, Jack the baby, sort of developing powers and things like that. It's nice to see a superhero movie now that sort of isn't like the rest, where it does a lot of these other things and it's more cartoony and like these huge just fight scenes and things like that are a little bit different than like the Marvel stuff. But yeah, it is a nice there's a nice big refreshing movie to sort of see in between. It's a little different than a lot of other superhero movies, and that's another thing, I guess. If you have like superhero fatigue, it's might be kind of hard to like, oh, I don't really want to watch this because so many other superhero movies. But it's different enough, and it's, like I said, it's a good Disney movie. It's hard to like talk about Disney movies every year, which we do like every year, without saying like, yeah, it's a Disney movie. They hit all the things that they need to hit. They really design and direct and just execute the movie very well.
Yeah, Disney's got it down to a science.
Yeah,
how to make a good movie.
Yeah, they really do. What do you think about it? Number 5, Deadpool 2.
I mean, Deadpool 2 I think on some levels, I mean, the movie could never hope to match what the first one did. So I don't think it tried. It tried to be a bit more of a movie with a better message, and they just kind of cranked a lot of things up. I think the action's better in this movie. It's a lot cooler. All of the acting choices or the casting choices are great. I mean, Josh Brolin as Cable, he's great. He's just playing a straight kind of hard-ass character. And Zazie Beetz as Domino, for what time she had on screen, I thought she was awesome. And it does go a few different directions, especially early on, with concerning Vanessa, and that's all I'll say about his girlfriend and whatnot. But
Vanessa.
Yeah. As I said that, I'm like, oh, right. There's two of them. But this movie's in the sort of, not in the same way, but in a similar vein. It's like different than other superhero movies. It's not, saving the world. It's stopping some kid from making a decision that's going to basically ruin the rest of his life and things like that. And it's that kind of personal touch kind of adds a lot more. This movie surprisingly has a lot of heart, especially comparatively to the first Deadpool, which is just all dick jokes and the F word.
There's some absolutely hilarious moments in this movie too. Like the very end is hilarious, with him dying. That was funny how they did that. The opening's hilarious. The whole section where they're like recruiting a team and then they all parachute down. That sort of shit is just funny. It's a funny movie, and I like Josh Brolin in this movie a lot as a villain. I thought he was good. He had a pretty good reason to do what he was trying to do, and I just like that. Deadpool is serious, but definitely not serious most of the time. And Josh Brolin's like super serious in this movie for the most part, and the two work really well together. So, yeah.
One of my favorite parts of the movie, I think a lot of people's favorite parts, is when he was like putting together that team.
Yeah.
And they all like jump out of like the airplane airplane, right?
Yeah.
And like getting ready to go into action, and just everything goes wrong.
Yeah, exactly. That's like the best part
Surprise
of the movie.
Brad Pitt cameo.
Yeah. Was it this movie when it had like that baby part?
Well, both of them have a baby part.
Oh, okay.
Which one? What are we talking about? Are we talking about the hand, or are we talking about straight shirt
Oh
cocking it.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
That was
It's this
so
one.
funny.
Yeah.
That was so funny. Yeah. Deadpool's just fantastic. Number 4, Halloween. Halloween's great, and I'm not a fan of the original Halloween as much as you guys are, but I just found this movie incredibly enjoyable from start to finish. Not only Michael Myers and trying to find him, but how he gets out, and I thought the end was very intense to watch. The whole thing was really well put together, but then I also liked the whole sort of 80s like Stranger Things vibes that were going on, especially at the Halloween party and with the kids, and there were some good parts, and also that little black kid that was getting babysitted.
Yeah,
that
that's
was just
probably
fucking
one of the
hilarious.
funniest scenes of the year goes to like that whole thing.
Yeah,
I think
it's really good.
this movie's both a love letter and also in some ways like a reflection of the slashers of like the 80s and the 70s and the early 90s, where like it does a lot of things differently. Just because a character's an asshole doesn't mean they're gonna die. These characters, you actually feel for them. A lot of times, which I think Friday the 13th is probably the worst offender of this, characters are just there to fill out a body count. And, that's they're one-dimensional. But then, like you said, the babysitter, that's like, oh, man, that sucks because she's a genuinely good character. Even though you don't get to spend that much time with her, but it's like, ooh, okay. Like, a lot of time, you can tell that there was a lot of love put into this movie. And it is, without a doubt, maybe besides the Rob Zombie ones, but that's Rob Zombie, so it doesn't count. The bloodiest and goriest Halloween
Oh,
movie.
absolutely.
This movie is brutal at times.
Yes.
And I just like the empowering message too of like of the tables getting turned at the end, and it's Laurie hunting Michael in her house. It's a great sequence. I know some people were like, yeah, that goes on for too long, but I'm like, no, it's perfect.
I thought it was great, especially like in a theater. You had the good sound in there, and like everybody's like quiet, kind of like quiet place. But hers, I just found that ending to be very intense to watch. So.
All right.
Okay, anything else? Number 3, we have Ready Player One, which is your favorite movie.
Yeah, this is my favorite movie of the year. It's a Steven Spielberg movie, and I was thinking about this. Like, I haven't seen a Steven Spielberg movie in quite some time, which is I think why it was sort of the perfect storm for me. Because in this movie, there is a lot of like just like magic and hope and all these like really these sort of things that a lot of 90s movies had, and just like Steven Spielberg movies. And if you haven't seen one in a while, it really sort of comes back, and it's like this great mix of just enjoying a movie. And I mean, there was some it was great CGI in this movie. There was like a big battle scene. There was a lot going on in this movie. A lot of really awesome characters. I just think it's one of those movies where, maybe in the end, everything just kind of, it's a happy ending and everything. All's well that ends well and all that. But it's nice to have one of those movies every now and then in between, like, this year with a movie like The Avengers where, it's a different take on that sort of thing, and where they do some different stuff, and movies that are more psychological or horror or everything. It's nice to have that movie that's like, it's just magic. Everyone's happy. Great CGI, great acting. The movie had me like from the beginning to the end. Like King Kong, they had like some awesome racing scenes. Mm-hmm. Big battle scene. I mean, it was really just one of those like movies where I turned into a child for like a couple hours, and I was just enjoying it.
Yeah, the whole thing with like The Shining, that was really cool.
Yeah,
there's a lot of really great.
Fucking Chucky.
Yeah, that was in there. It's like the amount of references in this movie, which is like
Tracer, King
it's
Kong.
In some ways like the in my opinion like the least contributing factor to why, because I think I had this movie like number 2. No, I had a number 3. I had it right here, but. The references are nice, but it's the characters. It looks great, and it's surprisingly poignant right now with like, you know, which is how some things are, like kind of like how a lot of these movies they blow things up to the extreme, like the dude trying to say like, oh yeah, we think we can sell 80% of the person's field of view before we cause seizures, and I'm like, I would not be surprised if somebody thought they could pull this off, they'd do it, and I'm like, but yeah, it's just big fun, and I think that's the most thing about this movie. It's just fun.
Right.
Probably the most fun movie of the year. One of them, at least. Definitely at least one of them.
Mm-hmm. Number 2, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. This movie's fucking awesome.
Yeah, we just saw this movie recently before filming this. Just got it in at the end of the year.
Yeah. But I love the way that this movie's animated and shot. I mean, it's fucking gorgeous.
Yeah.
And I love, you know, the color that they put in it. And it just seems, it's just such a weird, like, art style, but it fits so well. Because then they also throw in, like, actual, like, sort of comic book things. Like, I love right in the beginning, I think he's bouncing, he like hits a pen on his face or something, and he's got, you know, the little marks come off like you would see in a comic book, or, you know, little word blurbs that would pop up, like stuff like that is just
or
makes it
subtly
exciting.
just like you just notice like in like towards the edge of a character, the edge of the screen, there's like more dots. You can see the dots of the coloring, and I'm like, that's so cool.
Yeah, and it's got a really interesting story as well, bringing a lot of the different Spider-Men together, different, you know, iterations, I guess, Spider-Woman at the same time. But yeah, I liked that story aspect to it. It's got a great message to it and theme to it, especially for any kids that watch the movie. And I like the focus on Miles Morales as well, and I like that Peter Parker was like an older guy in this as well.
Down on his luck. Like
Exactly.
that's super cool, because that's one of the things. Peter never gets old in the comics because like people can't relate to him. And now it's like, here's a dude whose life is in not a great place, and it's like, oof. Yeah. I mean, that's probably how it would actually happen in the real world. It's like, ouch. But yeah, I mean, the cast of characters, I think, even some of the characters who have a very short amount of screen time, like Spider-Man Noir, or Spider-Ham, or I forget her. Like I put like Penny Parker, who's like the anime like mech operating one. Like they all have these distinct personalities, and they're all fun. I mean, of course, it's Miles, Peter, and Gwen that are the front runners for the movie, but every character gets their moment to stand out. Even like Aunt May gets like her moment to stand out. I don't remember, she just beats a character with a bat, and I'm like, yeah, it's awesome. And I mean, yeah, Miles is perfect. I mean, that way, you know, you don't have to worry about stepping on Marvel's toes, and it's like, boom, they can do their own thing.
One thing about this movie, really quick, is the obnoxious size of Kingpin at first was like way too much to handle. He like, and then they like zoom in on his face, and it's just his face, but his body is like 4 times.
He's hunched over. He's like
his
this.
face is drawn in the middle of a big black like square.
Exactly. I'm like, that's a different take for sure. Yeah.
Definitely very comic, but
Yeah.
Scorpion was in there. That's some cool villains.
Yeah.
Prowler.
Kind of a different take on Doc Ock as well, which I thought was cool. I mean, it's overall incredible. I mean, I think they are making a sequel.
They've already greenlit a sequel with like,
Yeah.
I think the same people writing it. I don't know if it'll be the same director, but
it's just good. I like the whole, every time they introduced the characters, like they went back and
all right,
did
let's
the
take it from the
same
top
story.
one more time.
Story again. It was good. Very.
I thought John Mulaney was hilarious in this movie as a Spider-Ham.
Oh yeah, apparently they want to do like a cartoon series with him,
Yeah,
which they
should.
should. I mean,
I was laughing like all the time when he just like pulled a fucking mallet.
He's
out
like,
of,
don't worry, it'll fit in your pocket.
Yeah, it was like, I don't know, it was like one of my favorite characters in the movie. I just thought it was hilarious.
My hands are wet because I just washed them.
Yeah,
no
nothing.
other reason.
Yeah. And also Nick Cage as Spider Noir.
That's one of the best casting choices ever.
Awesome.
It took me a while to realize. I'm like, yep, it's Nick Cage.
See, I probably wouldn't have picked it up, really, just because I haven't watched any Nick Cage things in a while. But knowing that ahead of time, I couldn't disconnect him from the character at all. Yeah. So yeah, number 1, Avengers: Infinity War.
Yeah, this is going to be number one on a lot of people's lists.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just a fantastic movie, and it does what I think a lot of people have been asking. Now, granted, they're making a second part, so it was a fitting ending, but that just the Avengers lose. Like, they had legitimate loss, legitimate struggles. There was never a moment where they were actually on top of anything in this movie.
Yeah.
But then, it's beautiful. There's a lot of great performances. The way they paired up certain characters I thought was really smart. Having, Iron Man and Doctor Strange together is a weird pairing that I think works out really well for the movie. Thor and Guardians of the Galaxy, or Rocket specifically. There's a lot of great
What
pairings.
did you keep calling him? Rabbit?
Rabbit.
Yeah. And it's and they the whole movie is so serious because of the threat of Thanos, which Thanos is done so well by Josh Brolin and written so well. But then, like, the comedy in this movie is the best comedy that they've had for a more serious Marvel movie.
Yeah.
I think like Thor, Ragnarok, or Guardians of the Galaxy, or Ant-Man are probably funnier movies, but they're also a little bit more lighthearted. Whereas this movie's super serious, but the way they injected the comedy in was actually smart. Whereas Avengers: Age of Ultron, it was like way too overbearing. So
I think the main thing about this movie is that this movie had everything going against it. You knew what was going to happen. You knew how it was going to end, and it had probably Force Awakens levels of hype around it, and for it to be as good as it was is a miracle. Honestly, again, they did all of that stuff very well. Again, you said the tones were balanced. I think it could have been super easy for them to play this movie safe in a lot of ways, and in some ways it is, but I think they took some gambles with characters and doing some things with certain characters dying and how they die, and and the ending is, even though it's coming, the ending is genuinely shocking and effective.
yes.
So I think that's that's the big selling point. Also, maybe some of the best big dumb CG action sequences that these movies have, but they're great. Thanos throwing a moon at people, I'm like, that's awesome.
Sure.
like if saying that out loud, that sounds dumb, but watching it, I'm like, oh, this is great. So, yeah.
I actually had this movie pretty lower on my list. Typically now most of the superhero movies that I'll go for is like Spider-Man or Deadpool or Incredible, something different. Like, because I haven't really watched all the Marvel movies. I'm sort of behind on a lot of that. Some of them I'm just not the biggest fan of. But I did think this movie was pretty good. I mean, it was very... Some things maybe I wasn't as caught up on, I guess. But because I didn't see Doctor Strange, I didn't really know all of what his powers were. But yeah, I thought the movie was pretty good. It was paced pretty well, I think.
It was paced
I liked one thing that annoyed me in this movie, and it's not annoyed me about the movie. The things that annoyed me in the movie, I'm not rooting for the Avengers. Like, I'm not. Thanos, they've actually made him a pretty good character, and he has, like, reason behind what he's doing, and it's like, sometimes I'm just thinking, like, yeah, we could, like, use 50% less of, like, everything, and I find myself, like, I'm kind of rooting for Thanos sometimes, even though, like, some of his methods are questionable, but it's like, he's kind of doing, like, I don't know, it kind of gives
wrong,
you, it gives you, like, two sides. Well, that's debatable. I don't know. I mean, it's one of those movies where it's like, it is kind of cool that I could kind of like see it from the other side. I mean, like, I thought, looking back on it now, I thought like Ultron was an okay villain. I thought he was an alright villain. But Thanos is just, I don't know, he's much better. I do, because he's like, he kind of reminds me of the Reapers in Mass Effect. Where it's like, yeah, he's a villain, but in a way, what he's doing is not like the worst thing in the world. It's open to interpretation. Is what I really do like about this movie. There's a lot of different sides you can come in on things. Yeah, I actually thought it was a pretty good movie. Yeah, even though I haven't seen the last few Marvel movies. I did see Civil
Yeah.
War, but yeah.
I think you can pick up on most of it from
Yeah.
that. Like, there's not like,
Yeah.
oh, there's not some big secret that you didn't see
Spider-Man
this
was in
movie.
it. I like Spider-Man. He's probably one of my favorite superheroes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's... They gave Thanos the perfect amount of screen time to me, and then...
Red Skull
He comes
Yeah.
back.
somehow.
I mean,
That was cool.
sure.
Even though for like a millisecond I was like, is it Doctor Doom?
Yeah.
And I was like, no, fuck.
Yeah.
My dreams were like alive for a second.
But being... Yeah, no, the merger hadn't gone through at that point as much.
Yeah, but
Hey, like 9 days, 10 days is when the Fox
Right.
Disney merger officially happens.
Oh.
10 days,
Hmm.
week and a half, and
Interesting.
then Disney's hostile takeover of everything media will begin.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess technically it already started when they bought Pixar, but
Yeah, in Marvel.
and everything they're buying
Lucasfilm.
everything.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah. Look forward to next year for movies.
yeah.
As well. I mean, there's a lot of good ones coming out.
Yeah,
next year, so.
that video of everything that we're anticipated for should be coming out.
yeah, watch
Eventually.
that.
What, the 1st? January 1st? Yep. So, check that out when that comes out. So, yeah.
Yeah, make sure to check out all the other lists. We have some music stuff that's going up, top TV shows,
Games, honorable mentions, disappointments for the albums. Yeah, all kinds of cool stuff.
Yep, see you later.